Hi, I'm Keith. I'm manager of organizational and spiritual life with Christian Horizons. We're a faith-based organization out of Canada. We serve people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Ontario, in Saskatchewan, and then in several countries around the world through the work of Christian Horizons Global. So in my role, I do a number of different things, but one of them is providing pastoral care and follow-up with teams who are experiencing grief or loss or going through a time of crisis. And it's a real honor, it's a real privilege to be a part of that journey. It might be, for instance, that I'm called in when somebody who's being supported has passed away. It's a difficult time, but it always reminds me of the strength of the caregivers, the strength of our direct support professionals as they accompany people on that journey. The reality is, though, that the more I taught that material, and we call that course Grief Matters, the more that I realized that loss touches us in many different ways over the course of our journey as caregivers. Certainly, times of crisis, times of death loss are significant in that way. But there are many types of loss that go just under the surface, and these can really start to add up. Let me think of a few. So, for instance, maybe you're supporting someone and they have goals, they have dreams that they're looking to achieve. And for a while, it seems like things are going really well, that they're going to, whether it's hitting that next level of education or getting that job or getting into a relationship that they've been looking to for a while. And then something goes wrong. Maybe they have a setback. Maybe it's something health related. And they're just not able to follow through on those goals and those hopes. That's one type of grief, of loss as caregivers that sometimes goes unrecognized. This also goes for parents and family caregivers as well, that we invest so much in the lives of others. Sometimes that works out in really rewarding ways as we see people flourish. And sometimes we grieve along with others as we see them face difficult times. And so there are those types of losses. Maybe it's being part of a system that is just frustrating, is difficult, that you're trying to get resources as a parent, for instance, and it seems like you just keep filling out forms or you keep talking to people and it's not getting anywhere to find that support that you need for your child or loved one. It might be, for instance, as a direct support professional, the kinds of documentation that we need to do, and we recognize that it's necessary, but sometimes it feels like it gets in the way of doing what we feel called to do and supporting people directly. Maybe it's the colleagues that we work with, and that can be a great and rewarding experience, obviously, but also there are times when we're working alongside someone and we just have a different view of how we should be carrying out services, how we should be supporting people. Well, I'm sure you can think of a number of different ways that this grief, this loss touches us in small ways, but like I mentioned, that builds up over time. And so I developed a course called Renew, based on principles around compassion fatigue and self-care. So what does it look like to care for ourselves as we care for others? The reality is that there's a lot of difficult things in caregiving, but there's a lot of really beautiful things as well about the work that we do. For one, the people who we work with. To be human, to accompany somebody in their lives is just such a beautiful experience. Beyond that, I believe that each one of us is more creative and more resilient and more compassionate than we often believe. And not only that, we experience our own gifts, but we experience the gifts of others too. The gifts of people who use our services, the gifts of our colleagues. And from the Christian tradition, when we talk about these gifts, we talk about them being God-given, that being created in the divine image, we have the joy we have the encouragement, we have the celebration of walking alongside each other on this caregiving journey. So today is just a bit of an intro to what I'm looking to do through these sessions. They'll likely be 10, maybe 15 minutes at a time. And I really hope you'll follow along as we talk about what does it look like to experience resilient care. What are some of the hazards of calling, of seeing our work, of seeing our care as a calling? How do we challenge one another, encourage one another, strengthen one another, both through everyday activities and also through some really difficult times? So yeah, I hope you'll take the time to comment or send me a message, ministry@christian-horizons.org. I'd love to hear what you found encouraging, what you maybe would have said differently, what's worked for you in terms of cultivating a sense of resilient care. I'll likely end these sessions with a bit of a prayer or a verse that stands out to me. And the verse that I want to leave you with today is from Isaiah 41:10. It's a divine promise. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. I hope you feel encouraged and strengthened today, upheld. Thanks for joining me. Take good care of yourself and those around you.